Hello, my name is Leanne Holloway. I am a member of the Space Tourism Group 3.1. In my portion of the research paper, I cover the history and, most importantly, pioneers of space tourism. For my presentation, I chose two very influential space tourists to discuss. The very first space tourist was a businessman named Dennis Tito. He made this historical flight on April 28, 2001, on a Russian spacecraft. Although Dennis Tito seems like the typical rich person that usually takes these space tourist flights just to show off their wealth, he actually had connections to the space industry because he started out as a space engineer early in his career. In addition to being the first space tourist, Dennis also made his mark on history because he was able to prove that a normal person could survive the harsh environment of space and not just a professional astronaut. It was believed before this that one needed years of rigorous training to avoid becoming ill in the harsh space environment. Next up, we'll discuss Ed Dwight and the importance of space tourism. Ed Dwight made history in May 2024 when he became the oldest space tourist at the age of 90. However, this is not where Ed Dwight's space journey began. In 1961, Ed Dwight was chosen by John F. Kennedy's government to become the first Black astronaut. Unfortunately, when the president was assassinated in 1963, this essentially put a temporary end on Dwight's space journey due to the political turmoil and racism that was present during this time. Ed Dwight didn't let this setback get to him, because after this, he discovered a love for sculpting and eventually devoted his time and career into becoming a professional sculptor that focused on shining a light on influential Black historical figures. Ed Dwight was finally able to go to space in 2024 because of the organization Space for Humanity, that is focusing on making these space tourism flights accessible to everyone and not just the rich. Each space tourist, including Ed Dwight, has expressed how the experience of weightlessness and seeing the Earth from space was such an amazing, if not the best moments of their lives. While it may seem frivolous, I do believe everyone should have the right to experience this for themselves. And I hope as time goes on, we make progress into making these flights more accessible. That concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you.
As we look forward to space tourism, let's look at the present. We have suborbital flights, orbital missions, and the global expansion with China joining in on the race. So throughout each slide, let's look at everything from a more expanded view. So for the current leaders of suborbital flights, we have Blue Origin, whose founder is Jeff Bezos, and the flight duration is generally about 10 minutes. The features is that it crosses the Kármán line, which is about 100 kilometers away from the Earth, and it features weightlessness with stunning Earth views. And one of the draws of this actually is it's supposed to have reusable rocket technology, and a recent milestone as of this year has been the successful crewed and uncrewed flights for the NS-35, which included science payload and commercial passengers. And our overall goal is to make space travel more of a routine for civilians. And on the other hand, we have Virgin Galactic, which is their focus is generally supposed to be luxurious high-end space experiences in comparison. Their founder is Richard Branson, and they originally had launched something like this way back in about 2008 with the mothership, the VMS Eve. And generally, the flight experience is almost the same, where it reaches the Kármán line and the experience witnesses, but they want to have that luxury flying experience that you had if you were going on like a first class flight. So their goal is really just to expand the commercial flight for mainstream accessibility as well, but just in a more luxurious way. So for orbital missions, we've had the rising opportunities where orbital tourism is shifting from just a general speculation to a possible commercial reality, with new programs filling the gaps since the Soyuz public flights had basically been disbanded. So we have the main four leaders of this being SpaceX, which is focusing on commercial multi-day orbital missions from 3 to 6 days, continuous microgravity of Earth views, and potential ISS docking, and it's designed for a immersive extended space living. And on another hand, we have Axiom Space, which is, doing private missions to ISS for about 10 days and combines luxury travel, astronaut training, and research, and building a fully commercial space station for future guests and industry use. The significance of this is that it moves tourism from the brief, edge of space experience to sustained off-world experiences and establishes groundwork for the routine of long duration of being humans being present in orbit. So for space tourism in China, we have new players such as the AC Space, which was founded in 2019, and it's entering crewed space orbital spaceflight, and it aims for orbital tests by 2027, 2028. And it marks a shift from state-led missions from CMSA, Shenzhou, and long-range private sector involvement. And currently, with AZ Space's development, they're currently going with their C-20 flight, which is being developed for future crewed vehicles. The previous launches were the Deer 1, which launched in 2023, the upcoming B-300, and Deer 5 for docking and reentry tests. While their funding isn't clear, they have ambitions parallel to US companies and China's push for reusable systems. On CA Space, they have in suborbital tourism, they have the Li Hong reusable suborbital vehicle, which is 7 passengers, 10-minute flights behind the Karma line, and 3 minutes of weightlessness. And they plan to rotate 10 vehicles, launching every 100 hours for a theme park style operation. They're also developing the Lijian 2 rocket for cargo and satellite networks, and supports up to 60 launches per year. However, with this new technology and these big aspirations, there's always going to be a current challenge, especially with the cost of accessibilities, as the current prices are for 200,000 to 300,000 for suborbital flights, which isn't very accessible currently. And there's also environmental concerns from all the rocket launches. You also have to look towards safety, going through new safety protocols and passenger training. While there hasn't been any type of big issue so far, you still have to take all these things into account, especially if you're going to use the general public for this. So there's also been looking towards the need for standardized safety and qualification frameworks. And for the future direction, there's potential for mainstream accessibility by 2030s with improved technology and safety.
Hello everyone, my name is Abhinav Zaki and I'm in group 3.1 and I'll cover the future of space tourism, safety standards, rules and liability, the environment, equality and access to the market and infrastructure, and a simple plan with goals. Standards for safety. So we need a clear safety basics for every flight. First, health and age, simple medical checks and fitness screens to see people and to know that they're safe to fly. Second would be experience and history. So operators should show flight counts, reuse counts, and any issues found. Third, training. So mission-based prep, like some VR practices and drills, because most passengers are not pilots. Fourth would be the workforce and vehicle standards. They should all be certified, staff documentation and inspections, and a short safety dashboard after every mission. Third would be the relegation and liability. Rules should be easy to understand and the same across every launch sites. Accessibility. So setting good devices and medical info must be a part of the ticket process so everybody knows exactly what they're doing. I also believe that the cancellation and delays is a big aspect, so a simple passenger bill of rights with clear refund and rebooking steps are there, so people know exactly like what happens if you cancel. Operations and records. So one standard format for incident reports and follow-up notes so we can ensure that the public see what changed after any issues. Environmental stability. So people care about the footprint of these flights. So the climate concerns, because rockets add CO2 and block carbon high in the air. So companies should publish pre-seat emission so everybody can see this. Another thing would be a simple action plan. So do a life cycle check for each vehicle, fuel, maintenance, and upgrades to lower impacts over time. Another important thing would be the launch timing. So we could plan launch windows to avoid sensitive clouds and winds to and share data comparing ground rockets and space plans. Another thing would be equality and access. So we wouldn't want this just to be only something for the people who have a lot of money to do. So this can't be only for the rich. So financial barriers. So one thing we could do is set fair pricing bands and reserve scholarships or research seats each year so everybody can have a chance. Action plan would be to save at least one seat yearly for community education or research. Also, share clear rules for motion sickness, help captions and audios, seating info and safety steps so more people can participate. I feel like that would be very important. Markets and infrastructure. So two big blocks today are insurance and community approvals. So local training hubs with doctors and infrastructures could improve passenger safety and speed approvals. Spaceports through private partnerships can also add social benefits like air quality monitoring and STEM programs. Overall, better scheduling and ground ops softwares can improve shortness wait times and make flights feel routine. This helps reliability and public support. Planning goals. So here's a simple timeline. In the first 2 years, we could publish a short safety dashboard after flights that would use a clear, informed consent template set with basic rules. In 3 to 5 years, we could open at least one commercial station module for visitors, build university training pipelines, and reserve scholarship seats each flight session. In 5 to 8 years, we could expand spaceports with community benefits and environmental reporting and align with the international standards for training and incident reporting. Ongoing, we could keep improving noise and airspace plans and show real outcomes in research and education.
Hi, my name is Genesis Martinez, and my section focuses on sustainability and the future of space tourism. When we think of tourism in space, it sounds exciting: rockets, microgravity, seeing Earth from above. But there are real environmental and social concerns that decide whether space tourism becomes long-term or short-term hype. One of the biggest challenges is environmental impact. Kim, Hall, Kwan, and Son, 2024, explain that rocket launches release carbon dioxide and black carbon high into the atmosphere where it stays longer than airplane emissions, which means it has a stronger impact on climate and ozone recovery. The second challenge is accessibility. Right now, trips cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, making space something only wealthy tourists can experience. Tovonian, 2023, argues that if space travel becomes a luxury instead of a shared scientific opportunity, public support could weaken. These factors show that Sustainability is not just an environmental issue, it's also about fairness, affordability, and social acceptance. If we want space tourism to grow, we have to address these concerns early instead of ignoring them. The good news is that sustainability isn't out of reach. In fact, technology is already moving us toward cleaner and more efficient space travel. One major breakthrough is reusable rockets. Instead of building new boosters every launch, companies like SpaceX are recovering and flying the same hardware multiple times, which reduces waste and gradually lowers the cost per seat. Another developing solution is AI optimization. AI can monitor rockets, improve fuel efficiency, predict maintenance needs, and reduce unnecessary test flights, all of which help lower emissions and increase safety. We're also seeing work on cleaner engines, new fuels, and lightweight materials that reduce energy needed for launch. Kim et al. 2024 highlight this as a key step toward responsible tourism. Technology alone will not solve everything, but every step in innovation reduces environmental impact and moves space tourism closer to becoming widely accessible. So, why does sustainability matter? If we prioritize sustainability now, we create a future where space travel becomes more affordable, more inclusive, and openly supported by the public. Wu, Yang, and Wang, 2024, emphasize that balancing economic benefits with environmental protection is what will determine long-term success. With responsible practices, we could see schools sending students to near space, research flights increasing, more funding for innovation, and eventually things like orbital hotels, yes, or lunar tourism. But if sustainability is ignored, we could have stricter launch regulations, public criticism, and high ticket prices that prevent the industry from expanding. In short, sustainability decides which path we take. To conclude my section, space tourism has incredible potential, but it has to be built responsibly. Again, I emphasize responsibly. Sustainability is not a barrier. It's the foundation that will let this industry thrive for decades. With continued innovation, reusable rockets, cleaner engines, and policies that support fair access, we can explore space without harming Earth. The future of space tourism is exciting, and if we prioritize sustainability today, future generations will be able to experience space with less impact and more opportunity. Thank you.